Hi, this screen capture is an introduction to VPN services. In layman's term, from one friend to another. There's a lot of detailed information about the technology behind VPNs available out there on the internet, and I'd encourage you to search for it and investigate it if that interests you. But this one here is just sort of a basic introduction. So in a nutshell, a VPN is an encrypted connection between you and the VPN service provider's server. As you can see in this picture here, this would be you. All the data that you're sending to the internet is encrypted by an open VPN protocol in many cases, and it goes to the VPN server, and then it unencrypts that data and sends it out anonymously. Anonymously in the sense that instead of this IP address visible, this one is here. So how do IP addresses work? Every computer in the world that's connected to the internet is assigned a numerical address. See right here, like that one right there. And this numerical address is handed out by the ISP, or Internet Service Provider, in my case, Shaw Communications, and they've assigned me this IP address. And this IP address connects me to Shaw and to a general physical location on planet Earth. As you can see right here, this is my IP address, and that's my general location on the planet. So this IP address, which is assigned by the ISP, can change monthly or more or less frequently, as dictated by the Internet Service Provider. So to keep a track of you, they sort of log your connections. They're not really watching where you're going necessarily. They're more interested about what IP address is assigned to what customer on any given date, so they can look back through their logs and connect IP activity to a customer. Now also, when you visit a service or a website on the World Wide Web, this IP address is visible when you connect to the service or the site that you're connecting to. And they can also read your ISP provider and your general location. And that information can be used to restrict access. Say in the case of Amazon Prime Instant Videos or BBC iPlayer, if I try to connect to them when I'm in my home location here, this is what would happen. On Amazon, they say, see, you're not located in the United States, and bugger off and go away. And same with BBC iPlayer. They're not available to you because you're not located in the United Kingdom. And they can tell where you're located because this number gives away that location. Now, also, if you're torrenting, when you're downloading, you're often uploading at the same time, or maybe when you're finished downloading, you're uploading, that IP address is visible to the people that are downloading. Now, the recording industry will take note of the IP address, which is sharing some file that they consider to be illegal, and then they'll pass that information on to the ISP. So you can see here, this is an example of the recording industry has logged an infringer's IP address and DNS name, and that's just being blocked off for the purposes of publishing to the internet there. So that's what they'll do. And then the ISP will read the logs and match this IP address and the date, and often the file size and type, to a customer. And then they may disclose customer information to aid in a lawsuit that's been brought by the recording industry, or they may take unilateral action against the customer with warnings or other stuff like that. The recording industry sometimes approaches the ISP with a court order for information, and sometimes they don't. In the United States, ISPs are going to start monitoring traffic that's being reported to them from the recording industry, or previous traffic, matching it up with a customer, and they're going to do like a 6-strike law, where they're going to start with warnings and then graduate through a start page you have to visit, and then an education seminar, and then maybe throttling and disconnection for repeated offenses. And in Canada, what they're doing is having a maximum fine of $5,000. You see, the way that used to happen in the United States is people were taken to court and sued civilly, and sometimes the payments were outrageous. But now they're sort of shifting in the United States voluntarily to a different model. But there's nothing to actually legally prevent them from still pursuing people in the courts. So how does a VPN work? Well, the traffic is encrypted in your computer, and then it goes to the VPN, and then the VPN unencrypts the data, and it goes off onto its destination. So that means that the data is encrypted here and unencrypted there. Now, that doesn't apply in every case, because you may be visiting your bank or your email or something of that nature where the traffic is encrypted anyway. So it would sort of be like encrypted twice on its journey here, and then the outer encryption would be removed, and it would still go encrypted to your bank or to Google or something like that. So you wouldn't really need to worry that it's being fully unencrypted. Just the plain data that wasn't encrypted at all to begin with is at least encrypted between here and there. So when you're on the World Wide Web and you're using a VPN service, then what is visible is the IP address that's being assigned by the VPN, that would be this one here, and not the one assigned by your ISP, which would be that one there. So the traffic also appears to be in a location that's assigned by the VPN server location. So if your server location was in Italy, for example, then is that where the VPN server was? So you'd appear to be browsing from Italy and not from Toronto. And what that allows you to do is to get around the location restricted access. Remember, up here with Amazon or BBC, what you would do is you'd connect to, for Amazon, a server in the United States, and to the BBC iPlayer you'd connect to a VPN server in the United Kingdom, and then when you visit those sites, they think you're in the United States or in the United Kingdom rather than your home IP address, wherever that may be. Another benefit is for torrents. Then instead of your home IP address being exposed when you're torrenting, it would be this one here that's being assigned by the VPN server. And so that has its own benefits. And also, if you're using public Wi-Fi like McDonald's or Starbucks, well, here's some of the things you have to worry about: sniffers and slidejacking, honeypot attacks, ARP spoofing, free public Wi-Fi, rogue networks that aren't like McDonald's. They're set up to sniff your data, and man-in-the-middle attacks, all which can have a great impact on your privacy and security. Whereas if you use a VPN in a public site, then all your data is being encrypted from here to here. Although it's going over McDonald's or Starbucks service, it's still being encrypted on your computer and unencrypted when it gets to the VPN server. So it's perfectly safe and not stiffable. So that's definitely a good benefit. Limitations? The limitation would be that your VPN sees your real IP because you're connecting to them, so they know what your real IP is. And not all VPNs are created equal. Logging by an ISP may be replaced by logging by a VPN. You can see here that Hide My Ass, which is supposed to be anonymous, will give up your data if you're using the service illegally. And so logging may also start at any time, even if the service claims not to log. If you're a terrorist or distributing kiddie porn or something like that, you're not safe because they'll just start logging your activity, even though they don't normally do. And so it's not really to protect people doing extremely nefarious illegal activity, but more people that want privacy and security and maybe are, downloading the odd movie or song or something like that. They could be considered usually safe, depending on which VPN service you use. So how do VPNs mitigate their risk? Well, they may log, like hide my ass. They may log your activity, and they may sell you out. But where other VPN services can mitigate their risk is by restricting torrent access to servers outside of the USA, because it's the recording industry in the USA that causes the most problems. And or they may operate their servers in legally friendly jurisdictions. They may have their head office offshore, like for example in Malaysia, Netherlands, or the Swedens, which may also be a legally friendly jurisdiction. And so how can they restrict your access to a torrent server? Because if I connect to a VPN service in in the United States, how are they going to stop me? Well, torrents really require an open port to be maintained for connection and speed. And if you don't have a port open, then your torrenting isn't as effective. So what they can do is certain services like private internet access, they dictate certain countries, and they also dictate certain ports, so that when you connect to private internet access, down by the clock there, whoops, we'll try that again. Down there, if it's green when you're connected, it would pop up where it says disconnected there. It would pop up a little port number, and then you would input that port into your program. And other services like Bole, what they'll do is they'll get you to connect to a specific country that they allow port forwarding from, and then you're free to open ports from those countries. And for them, they prefer Luxembourg or Switzerland are the countries that they'll allow you to open ports when you're connected to their VPN server. So how do VPN services mitigate your risk? Well, the better ones will not do logging. So they don't really keep track of who's connected when. So if they do, or if they are approached by the recording industry, they say, well, I don't know, we don't log, we don't know who is connected anyway. And they also may have multiple people sharing the same IP address, so it's not just you with this address, it may be a dozen other people. So you're safety in numbers. They may also separate their billing and their VPN services, like Bole does. When you pay to one organization, and when you connect, you're connecting causally through another organization, and there's like a wall in between them, and they don't have knowledge of what the other one. When you connect to the service, all they know is that you've paid, and when you pay, all that they know is that you're entitled to the service. Of course, then you're trusting the company to maintain that kind of division in their services. Another thing they can do is allow anonymous payments, like through Bitcoin or Liberty Reserve, or gift credit cards that are anonymous. And many services will also encourage you to sign up anonymously using a fake name and an email address that you've created only for that purpose. For levels of paranoia for connecting to VPNs, I guess the first level would be where you use your real name and billing information. The second one would be where you use anonymous name and anonymous payment. And the third one might be where you daisy chain VPNs, where through the use of virtual machine, where you connect to a VPN service, perhaps anonymously in your computer, and then you start a virtual machine and connect to a second separate service in a different jurisdiction, perhaps anonymously, and do your browsing in the virtual machine. And then the outer VPN only sees your real IP, and the inner VPN, which you're using for browsing, only sees the IP address from the encrypted outer VPN. And they're in different jurisdictions, so that can provide you with a little bit more privacy and security. So to connect to a VPN, whatever VPN service you're using, you just click down by the clock here, and what I would do is I would just right click here, and then I would just choose to connect to one of those, and click, and away you go, and that's basically all there is to it. For private internet access, that shows sort of a certain color of green when it's connecting, and then when it finishes connecting, it turns a bright green right there, and it says connected US Seattle. And if I was in a destination where they had port forwarding, like Canada, if I was connected to North York, then it would pop up a port number there that I could use in programs. So some things to note when you're connected to a VPN is that VPNs purchase server space around the world, and the servers have a capacity of a certain number of gigabytes of speed per second, and that's going to be impacted by server load. The more people that are connected to a VPN, then the slower the speed may get. And another thing is your speed and ping is dictated by your distance, so that if you're in Romania, then your speed and your ping, that's the time that it takes a little packet of data to bounce between Romania and you, is going to be a lot longer than it is if you're connected to Seattle. So for streaming, you need about I don't know, maybe 8 megs a second, and for torrenting you need less. I've got some examples of some speeds that can be exhibited here. This one was when I'm not connected to a VPN, and so I'm getting 46 and 50. And this one here, I am connected at 149 and 1461. And I forget where that was now. That was in the United Kingdom. And this one here, 188 and 783. I think that's in like Luxembourg or something like that. And 45 and 78. I think that's in the United States. And 149 and 13. I think that was in the UK. And this one here, I guess I refreshed the page and lost it. So you can see that the speeds can vary, but they're enough for streaming, even from the United Kingdom. Even when you're like in Luxembourg or something, you're still getting pretty good speed, enough for torrenting and perhaps even streaming. So in terms of costs, they can range from about $40 a year, private internet access, fantastic deal, up to around $85 a year. That's Bullet VPN. Substantially, it's like twice the price of this one. But this one here, they've got like a private torrent tracker for people that are interested in torrents. So I guess that can mitigate it too. And you have to pick your VPN service carefully. The best ones are the ones that don't log and allow some kind of anonymous sign up and payment. And I'd recommend the ones that have the best reputations and they're active in the security community, and the ones that I'd recommend would be Bullet VPN based in Malaysia, and a private internet access, which is based, I forget, I think it might be the Netherlands or something. I think AirVPN is, what was it, Netherlands or Sweden? And Mulvad, I think that's in Sweden. So those are the best ones. In terms of speed, this is probably the fastest, then this one, then AirVPN, and then than Mulvad. I've tried all 4 of those. Mulvads doesn't really cut it, and these 3 can. And of these 3, this one here and that one there are pretty good. And for the prices for these guys, I'm not quite sure what their costs are. But probably the cheapest deal would probably be private internet access at $40 a year. That's pretty inexpensive if you just want to get into it. Can't really beat that price. So if of course it's only introduction, and there's more complex connections if you are a dissident, a whistleblower, an intelligence service. You're not going to only rely on a VPN. And so there's different types of VPN connections that I'm not going to get into. And there's also something like the Tor browser, which provides another layer of anonymity. If you're going to combine this kind of thing with a VPN, then wow, you're really getting private and secure. And there's even like Tor Mail, which is completely anonymous mail and stuff like that. So just remember, stay safe out there. Remember that data that you store in the cloud is not private. In many cases, stuff you store in Evernote or in Google in your mail, it may be encrypted while on its way to and from, but it's not encrypted on their server even. So, and they'll give you up in a second. Backup stuff you don't want to lose to online and physical media, and maybe an external drive at home or something, and keep your programs updated and your antivirus. Use an antivirus that's updated. Do some secure web browsing. I've used Internet Explorer here just because it's not locked down in any way, and it's a little bit easier to demonstrate stuff. Normally I would use Firefox and NoScript and HTTPS everywhere, which you can use on many browsers. You should investigate those because those are good for security. And consider using a virtual machine if there's someone in your family who constantly infects the computer. Then one way to help with that is when they connect to the internet, they can do it through a virtual machine, so they can't really get out and affect the outer computer. It's just a little inner virtual computer. Anyway, hope this helped, and bye.